August 30th sees the re-release of Operation Hadal, though the premiere screenings are available for those eager to catch it early. For those who don't know what led to Operation Hadal needing a re-release, I'll briefly fill you in. During the Chinese New Year, several major films were released to coincide with the all-important holidays. Operation Hadal was one of the big blockbusters of the year, along with Tsui Hark's The Legend of Condors, Detective Chinatown 1900, Naja 2, and The Creations of Gods 2. So there was some stiff competition. Those in charge of Operation Hadal wanted a head start, so they gave the film an early premiere, but that did not do it any favors. The online mobs criticized Operation Hadal for releasing early, then bad word of mouth spread about the quality of the film, along with some poorly miscalculated marketing which publicized how classified the film was. The netizens stated that if it's so classified, then they won't watch. Once the other films released, Operation Hadal lagged behind big time. Naja 2 became this phenomenon, Detective Chinatown was this easy crowd pleaser, and The Creations of Gods 2 was this follow-up to the highly regarded first outing, so it's easy to see why people flocked to the other films. Matters are made worse with how expensive Operation Hadal was to make, with 4 1-for-1 life-size submarines constructed, and that is just the exterior casing. Extensive interiors were built, a 17-meter deep pool for dunking the sets was constructed, and the logistical nightmare shooting on a real-life working oil rig. All this adds to a bloated budget. Operation Hadal didn't even make back half its production budget, and soon it was quickly pulled from cinema screens with a notice that it will receive a newly re-edited version and it will be releasing soon. And here we are with a new release of Operation Hadal Special Edition. I'll give a very brief plot summary since I've covered it in my previous review. The film is a semi-follow-up to the hit film Operation Red Sea, and it sees the mostly new team of Jiang, part of an elite team of submarine crew, tasked with taking on a foreign group of rebels who have betrayed their group of people and taken over a secret base housing a nuclear weapon. The Chinese submariners track down the foreign party and they must put a stop to them. The special edition sees an editing overhaul. The structure is exactly the same as before. The plot mostly adheres to the original, with a lot of scenes now being removed. If you were not a fan of Dante Lam's style before, then there's nothing here to make you change your mind. In fact, because now things move at a quicker pace, Dante Lam's frantic style is amplified even more. I want to be upfront that I'm doing a lot of this from memory since I can barely remember the first release of the film, but some edits are pretty significant. The opening wastes no time and immediately gets things rolling. The pace is definitely much quicker than before, with the mercenaries boarding the oil rig in no time. The usual shoot-up stuff happens, and from what I can tell, it's small snippets removed here and there to make it even tighter pacing. A scene with Jiang's character, Huang, paying respects at a memorial has been removed, and we go straight into the new recruit scene. The original single-take scene going through the submarine has been cut in half, removing the travel through the rear section of the submarine. The dinner scene between the foreign villains have been trimmed down with a lot of dialogue altered. There's some very bad dubbing done here, with lines seemingly changed, and if I remember correctly, it makes the big bad villain, Walter, seem less of a villain with big ideals of making his country great, but more about having power. The moment where Walter is apprehended is more abrupt now since they removed the crew ambushing the special forces scene. A scene where the submarine crew risks their lives to fix the reactor coolant room has been entirely removed, and the much derided scene where the Chinese captain plays on his harmonica to rile up the crew has been deleted altogether. The leader of Zhao team, Chuan, his present-day father scenes has been removed entirely, making the brother feud even less important of a subplot. And then we get the various action scenes which have all been edited down to tighten up the pacing. This can be both a positive and a negative. The positive is that things move at a brisker pace and it feels more exciting. The negative is that the original edit, things were already chaotic and hard to follow with so many characters and hard to distinguish submarines, all looking exactly the same. And now with quicker edits, things are even harder to follow. Take for example the finale with 2 bases, it cuts back and forth between the two, so often it becomes hard to follow who's who and where's where. My memory fails me, but I don't remember the foreign actors being dubbed so poorly before, but here the lip sync is terrible. There's definitely dialogue revisions made and Walter's motivations are altered slightly, nothing that the audience will care about, but it's odd that they found it necessary to make such alterations. I couldn't really remember the score of the first outing, but I remember it being very good. But for this edition, the music feels even better. It pulsates with the action and builds tension when necessary. And with the extra time afforded, it also feels like they touched up the VFX of the mechanical dogs, with it before being a tad too jerky, and now it feels smoother and more consistent. It's not perfect, there are moments where it's very poor, but by and large it feels better. This may sound odd, but the original cut of the film's end credits moved at an insane pace to help cut down on the duration of the film. This time round it is more reasonable since the film is not as long as before, though it still clocks in at over 2 hours. The film is still quintessential Dante Lam. It's bombastic and frantic with heavy dosages of action, but weak on story and character development. So basically the same problem as the first edit, but this time round all the unnecessary fat has been trimmed and the film is more lean and brisk than before. There was just one major thing that irked me greatly, and I don't know whose fault it was. During the latter half of the film, the fights seemed to be slightly cranked up in speed. I don't know if it's a me thing, because the person I watched it with didn't notice any problems. People moved a tad unnaturally fast, and I don't know if it was the intention of the director, or was it done by my cinema to help cut down on the runtime. I recommended the first edit despite its many flaws, and I recommend it this time round for the adrenaline and bombastic action.
干他们！干！